Good morning, ladies. You heard a little bit about my background there. Most recently, I've been the COO at Stella & Dot, where I got to oversee several different functions, including product and technology. But a few weeks ago, somebody was asking me, like, what do you get most excited about in your day, in your job? And I was like, well, I mean, it's definitely launch day. Like, I'm like a kid on Christmas morning on launch day. So if that doesn't make me a product lady at heart, I don't know what does, right? But enough about me. We are here today for this next 15 minutes to talk about how you can nail your product review. So let's get into that. Okay, so how many people here are like, I'm going to talk about my product with my executive team. I am so excited. This is gonna be the best day ever. I see 0 hands. Okay, we got 1. Maybe you should come up and give the presentation. All right. But how many of you actually feel like this? You're like, oh, worst day, can't sleep the night before, really wish this wasn't happening. So I'm gonna try to make you more like this one lady in front here. That's my hope for these 15 minutes. Because I will tell you this, anytime you get to talk about your product, it's good for 2 reasons. It's good because it makes the product better. You heard a lot about getting feedback from others in this, with Lucinda. But it's also good for you. It's good for your career, and it's good for development, because when you talk about your work, it's when you're kind of like in your genius zone, right? So that's always good just for your own professional advancement. Okay, but what do I even mean when I say a product review? Because I bet you there's some people who are sitting in that back row who are like, okay, I think I'm gonna exit now, because we don't even do product reviews, right? In my organizations or companies that I've worked in, we use the product review for 2 purposes. It's basically a checkpoint before we're about to make a major investment and in this case, generally investment is, a lot of the time it's correlated with engineering time, right? Or it's more of just a check-in if it's a product that's been out there for a while and you're doing more optimization. It's a check-in to see how you're doing against your goals and where you're going. If you're a manager in the room and your company doesn't do these, I would highly suggest it because, again, going back to those 2 things I said before, 1, it's a great way for your PMs to really think about how to have structured conversations around their product. And 2, just discussion always improves the endpoint. Okay, this is like the freebie tip, the first tip I'm gonna give you. All right, so I talked about how we use product reviews. I think the most obvious thing you can do is understand the objectives of your company first before you go into any meeting. This, again, it sounds so obvious, but you'd be amazed. Like, I can share with you an example of a few years ago, I was at a company that I will not name, and I was going to meet our CEO to talk about a substantial piece of product strategy that we've been working on for a while. And I went through the meeting, and I thought it was pretty good. Like, I felt good. Walked out, I nailed it, right? My manager calls me. How do you think that went? I was like, I thought it went well, but I can tell from the tone in your voice, maybe you think that something didn't. And he said, well, I kind of know him, and he likes to talk about these options that we didn't pursue and kind of go through the rationale. So I hung up the phone, and I was super frustrated, and I probably spent a few minutes kind of being like, God, he's such an a-hole, right? But wish he had shared that with me up front, wish I knew it. But really, if you think about it, that's on me, right? Because guess what I could have done to go address that situation? I could have asked, right? It was my first meeting going into this type of situation. I should have used the people around me. I should have used my manager. Hey, what do you know works well? What tips do you have for me? Use the people that are around you that have been in this situation to understand exactly what the objectives are before you go into these reviews. So that's the freebie tip. Okay, so now let's talk about a framework. And I call this a framework, and it's not an agenda, right? Because again, going back to understand the objectives in your organization, you might want to morph this, but I would sort of suggest that if you cover these 5 things in any conversation you're having about your product, you're going to be successful. We're going to talk a little bit about each one of them. So vision, problems, and goals, which a lot of people that's basically product strategy. Then you talk about your roadmap, and then you also leave room for input. So let's go through what these things are. So the first thing that you can talk about is vision. Right? And we could spend an entire session on how do you come up with a product vision, right? It's a big topic. But I think if you just simplify it down to close your eyes, this is your North Star. If you were to think about a year or 2 years from now with your product, what do you want it to be? What do you see it? What do you see it becoming, right? Write that down. Vision is super important because it helps you prioritize. So if you know you have this end vision, you can start to weigh it against the features that you come up with. So everybody has a great idea about some amazing feature you should put into your product. But how does it weigh against this ultimate vision, right? Now, vision can evolve over time, but you should always have a sense of where you're going on some iteration that's longer than the next few sprints on your roadmap. So let me give you an example. This is an example of a vision for an app we built at Stella & Dot. You don't know this app, it's internal. It's used by, unless you're a stylist, maybe you know it. But this is a vision that we had from our product review. That is, Mimi is the core business app that enables hobbyists and part-timers to authentically, easily connect with customers through personalized, customizable experiences that drive customer sales. Now, why I love this vision statement is it talks about the who, hobbyists and part-timers. It talks about what, personalized, customizable experiences, and for what purpose, customer sales, right? So we've addressed the three major blocks of who, what, and for what purpose in this vision statement. And now we can start to figure out what features are going to help us deliver on that vision. Now, a lot of people might tell you a vision statement should also say how it compares against competitors. For sure, we can make this a longer paragraph, but I think this hits the three major blocks. Okay, second, problem, right? This is your why. This is why you're even doing this. You need to understand what problem you're trying to solve. And what I love is when somebody can come into a room with me and give me real customer examples and real insights from a customer conversation you've had that demonstrates this problem. That wins me every time. So if you need a test that you're actually solving a problem, ask what you would do if we didn't have this product. That's a great way to level test that you're actually creating something that's needed out there in the world. So in the Mimi example, like, we were literally, they couldn't do this in a shoppable way, right? So we were solving a core problem. So remember, solve your customer's problem, not your own problem. All right, third, I'm sometimes shocked how many times people come in with this amazing vision and this idea, and there's this problem out there, but they have no idea how they're going to measure if we've done it, right? You have to know, what does winning mean? How are you going to get there? These could be KPIs, metrics, and guess what? You know, I get it, it's hard. Sometimes things are so upstream of the actual metric of, in our case, customer sales that you're trying to drive, that it's really hard to figure out, like, okay, how are we going to say that we've actually done what we set out to get to do? But you've got to put some cycles into that and figure out how are you going to proxy into that ultimate metric to know that you're on the right track, right? Know what it means to say that we've won and we've done this right. Then comes the roadmap. Now, the roadmap, obviously, is nice because it tells you when you're actually going to get something done. But the roadmap is really about defining what's really critical to execute on that vision first. So this is where you start to see the features. Where are these features coming in to deliver against this ultimate vision in a way that makes sense, because these things are the most critical things to do first. The other thing I'll say is, as a PM, do not come up with your roadmap and present it without just in isolation, right? This has to be something that you're sharing with your engineering manager, because I don't want to see a roadmap that's just like a PM's creation. I want to see a roadmap that has actually been discussed with the people who have to help you deliver this, right? So it's a partnership to get to this, but this is about defining what are the critical pieces to get you to your vision. Input. Okay, so Lucinda talked a lot about this, and the example of if you go into a meeting and you've just crammed through your 30 slides and presented, and you've gotten no input from anybody, that's probably not the right outcome. I'm going to tell you a secret. Chief product officers, VPs of products, like, they really love building products, right? But they're kind of gotten distant from it a lot of the time because we're spending time on managing our budget or recruiting or mentoring. Like, these are all very important things, but in our hearts, we love building product. So when you ask for my input in these meetings, I mean, I guess, yes, you're satisfying my ego, thank you. But also, I would like to think you're probably going to get some good input, right? Now, the key on this is to be super directed about where you want it, right? Because otherwise, we've been in the situations where you're trying to, like, half a slide into slide one, and people are already the peanut gallery giving you feedback. right? So what I think a great way to handle this is right up front. Here are the 2 points where I'm going to need your input, right? Or I'm very clear on where I'm asking for help. This is a great place to ask for alignment, to say, I need your support in making sure marketing does this, right? So be clear about where you're going to want the input, so then you can direct it. But this is using your team and the leadership team around you. It will always make your product better, but just be clear about where you want that input. All right. Simple, right? That's the framework. Vision, problems and goals. Like I said, that's product strategy. Another way of thinking about this is like, what's the game we're in, and how do we know that we're going to win it? Then you got your roadmap and really targeted discussion that gets you feedback in the places that you need it. You got all that done, and I know you're going to nail your product review. Thanks. I think we're going to take some questions now.